Sometimes life lets you down and you feel that you are done. You just want a morning run because the fun is all gone. But sometimes life makes you proud when you look far and wide, when you leave the pain behind and see the brighter side. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you. Sometimes life makes you blind and you choose something bad. You just wanna cry and hide and save your face from the crowd. But sometimes life makes you see the beauty in you and me. When you look up above, there is God and there is love. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new. We're here to help you see the newness of life. We're here to help you feel your hope is so real. You got the power to see. We'll help you see the new you. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you.
The new channel. The new channel.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the new channel, here to help you see the new you. This is Jesse Francis Rebustillo of HR Hotline. It is a wonderful day. The sun is up, although I'm still scared to go out. I just had a webinar earlier and I did finish it at 11:30 so that we can be ready for this live streaming. I invited two of my closest mentors and friends. Why? I would like to have this series of episodes wherein I'm going to invite a couple or a trio of my friends to share with me some things that we need to discuss real time, right now. One of which is very personal. We would like to know, what does the pandemic made us or make us? I will start with that later on. Then, of course, I would like to ask, what should HR be focusing now? And what should HR be preparing for whatever in the future? You know, we are in the VUCA world now, which is the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and agility. So it's uncertain, but we are still being asked to prepare. And what is it? Then I would like also to ask, what are the HR emerging paradigms? Or what is the culture that is coming in? And what are the possibilities? You know, these questions I would like to ask now and maybe next week and the following week to certain groups. I'm trying to find friends of mine who are younger from our guests now. And then, but I would like to know the insights of HR. So without further, now let me start first. So what has the pandemic made me as a person? More discerning, more time to pause and be still, and then try to understand the meaning of all of this. Although I have done that before because I actually teach emotional intelligence, but this time, this is it. I am experiencing it, and I have the time to really look into what is happening and how it affects me and how should I react to it, and I become a better person. What is it that we should focus a lot? We are going to ask. Now, I invited, actually, in Desiderata, I always look at a person who is better than you are. Both of them are better than me. They are, what do you call this, ascendant. Sometimes I seek their opinion because they are actually seasoned HR. One is actually with the investors in people, and one is now a retiree, but a consultant in a big merchandising firm of San Miguel. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the 2015 PMAP President, Mr. Roberto Policarpio, and then 2019 PMAP President, Mr. Gerry Plana. So we're three. You will see us three on the screen now. Okay. It took us a time to prepare. You know, I was asking the staff, what is it that is really particular on the framing? And the answer is that the three of us should look good. And we are really looking good. The lights and everything. And that is the professionalism of the new channel. Okay, let us go personal. I don't know who will be the first one. So what does the pandemic make you? Let us make it present. Who will answer first? How does it past tense make you?
So,
Gerry?
hi Jesse. Good
Yes.
afternoon, Jesse. So, if I may just be allowed to start it?
Sure.
I think your question is about what's the personal impact of the pandemic.
Yes.
So I can cite a couple of things as far as I'm concerned. I think one of the best things that happened to me during the pandemic was I had more reflection time. I think it gave me a lot of time to reflect, to really flesh out my thoughts and my ideas. So I think that's one. The other one that's very interesting is I'm more connected internationally as a result of the pandemic. These were things I never used to do before the pandemic, but now I'm having very regular communications and interactions with my international colleagues in Investors in People International. So those are the two things that really
that is actually something that you're gaining now, Gerry. That is the positivity. One is you have more time to discern. Same here, we are thinking people, we need time to discern what is happening. And the other one is even wonderful. You have now the time to be connected with your international engagements.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
But you
Yes,
know,
as a matter of fact,
Jerry,
yeah.
yes. But you know,
As a matter
Jerry,
of fact,
yes, yes, yes. Continue, please continue.
as a matter of fact, it even opens new doors internationally now. So we're beginning to see the emerging stretch of our business even internationally. We're getting more involved internationally. Like right now, our group is involved in 11 assessments for 11 countries outside the Philippines as we speak right now.
Yes. But you know, you need to have good connectivity and you need to have good platforms.
Yes,
You have to be
definitely.
tested. By the way, we have here Grace Moniz Licena listening to us and Mark Hernandez. Mark and Grace, why don't you share with us what does the pandemic make you now? I would like to know also, and then I will read it, Grace and Mark. How about you, PP Obet? What is the personal, how does the pandemic, what is the effect of the pandemic in your life?
Okay, good afternoon. Magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat, lalo dito sa ating dalawang magaling na kaibigan, PP Jesse at PP Gerry. Alam mo, sa mga panahon na to, talagang agree ako sa ating partner na si PP Gerry. I also started reflecting, no? Until now, I'm still reflecting. At kaakibat ng aking pagninilay-nilay is the discernment. Ano ba ang sinasabi ng mga pangyayari? In other words, reading the signs of the times. And from the reflection, I level up to what I call, I have to redefine. No? Ano ba ang purpose ko given this pandemic period? At kakibat niyang redefinition na yan is the discipline. And lastly, I have to reset everything so that I'll be able to deploy kung ano ang kinakailangang tugon ko na akma sa panahon. So yan ang aking
PP Obet, I know this is very personal, but you know, it's in the open. And then this is for everybody. Can you share to us, because during the pandemic, I know you retired. Diba? Retired. But you actually, it was so quick, you are back working. So how was it? Can you share with us so that people will know the journey that you had? Please, please.
Okay, thank you, PP Jesse. It's really a personal testimony at this point in time. So this is HR Hotline. So talagang hot issue. Kanina nabanggit ko yung tatlong R, di ba? Reflect, redefine, at reset. At kakibat niyan, discern, di ba? Discipline and deployment. Alam niyo mga kaibigan, hindi lingid sa kaalaman ng mga nakikinig dito na ako'y dumaan sa isang napakatinding challenge last year. Hindi ako nag-retire on my own sa ano pa mang mga kadahilanan na hindi ko saklaw at hindi ko hawak. Ako po ay napilitang na-retire. Ganun pala yun, ano? Pero yun nga may mga pagkakataon na ang buhay ay bibigyan tayo ng mga challenges. At yan hindi kinakailangan mabasag ang iyong tiwala, ang pananampalataya. Yan ang importante. Kaya nga ho, nabanggit ni PP Jesse. Ngayon, paano ho ako nag-bounce forward? Hindi ako nag-bounce backward. Nag-bounce forward po ako agad. Kaya sabi ng mga kaibigan ko, para ka lang nagbakasyon ng 2 linggo. At you are again back into the hardcore of HR operations. So yan, parating nababanggit ni PP Jesse. I'm managing a second-year-old company, no, now with 8,500 employees. So So, I'm back in the ball game at ito nga ho yung aking tugon sa tawag sa akin dito sa bukasyon natin bilang isang HR practitioner. So,
Okay.
ano ang aking naging sekreto? Unang-una, panalangin, panalangin, panalangin. Pangalawa, paniniwala, paniniwala, at paniniwala. At pangatlo, pagtugon, pagtugon, pagtugon. At yan po, nakasaad yung aking pananampalataya. At ang puntating salita sa pananampalataya ay taya. Basta kasama mo ang Diyos na may pananalig ka at kasama mo ang mga taong naniniwala at nagbibigay lakas sa iyo. Yun lang, partner.
Wow! Jerry, dapat mag-clap tayo kay PP Obet. Nako.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Just imagine
Testimony.
testimony. And this should inspire everybody. Diba? That it is part of the journey, and during the most challenging time, you had that experience. Okay, let us go into something now very close into our hearts. So, ano ang insights ninyo for the two of you, for those who are listening to us, and we are going to share this, what should HR be focusing now? Diba? Now muna pag-usapan. And then later on, if you would like to discuss it, and what are they supposed to prepare in the VUCA, which is very uncertain. So let us discuss this muna. Now we have discussed yung personal, how it affected us. Now let us share it now with the rest. Ano dapat ang gawin ng iba? What are the things that they should focus now on their personal, sa personal nila at sa trabaho nila, on their roles in their organization? Gerry, can you share with us?
Okay, yeah. Let me start this off. I think right now the HR's focus should be on well-being. I think for a long time we've had this statement about people being our greatest asset. I think the real statement should now be revised. It is healthy people that are our greatest asset. And I think we have a different perspective of health now. It's more total, no? It's not just physical health. It's mental, it's social even. Social interaction is good for our health. And the reason why we're suffering so much stress these days is because of the social isolation that we've been suffering as a result of this series of lockdowns. So I guess we need to have a new perspective of total well-being. And I think as we try to push for great employee experience, I think well-being should be top in our agenda right now.
Gerry, just a question. Doon sa framework ng IIP, is there a dimension on well-being? Tell us.
Yes, there definitely is. There is a focused standard award for just well-being. And it assesses organizations in terms of their practices that promote total well-being in the physical, in the mental, and in the social spheres of their employees. There is a separate award now being given by Investors in People International, and we're giving it here also for that specific award, aside from the standard Investors in People accreditation.
Oh, so that
Because
means
of the focus, of the need for focus for well-being now.
so that means, Gerry, that the more that we are on the pandemic, the more people should really be engaged with IIP. Kasi that is part of the measure para malaman mo.
Yeah, because if you're not measuring something, you're not managing it, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I think you need to have a more systematic, deliberate process of measuring and managing something that is critical. If well-being is critical, then let's do that.
Okay, in the chat box, si Joanne Rosary is telling us, agree with Sir Gerry, healthy people are our greater asset. We have to take care of our people. Si Mark Enrique Hernandez, at sabi rito, man of faith and resilience are words to describe Sir Obet. Then we have your Grace Manis Dicena. I also retired mid-year. In the midst of the pandemic, I had to reset my purpose in life, my time for my family, be mindful of my time, and I have my quiet time with God. Obet and Gerry, you know Cecil of PAL. Nag-retire din si Cecil lately. At gaya ni Grace. So, nice, Gerry, going back to what you just discussed, I think we have to really be engaged with IIP kasi yung pala, that is, pero ba paano Gerry? Baka mahal naman. I am not promoting IIP, pero how can...
Hindi naman. I think the concept of mahal is value for money, di ba? Yeah. It's always I think the better question is what's the return on investment. Dapat ganun siguro ang question. And I think there is the greatest return of investment is when you take care of the health of people now. I think you'll have more energetic talent that is working, to achieve your goals.
Yeah, you know why I mentioned that? Kasi there is one who's calling me. They thought that itong health is us. And I'm telling them it's not us anymore, yung occupational safety and health. You're not after the electrical connection. You're not after. It's more of sinasabi mong well-being actually, Gerry. Right.
Jesse, talking about well-being, one of the least talked about is the social well-being. We talk a lot about the physical and the mental, but that's the social. If we're socially ill, it can affect our mental and our physical health. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of studies that says that if you have good social interactions, that can prolong your life. So there's a lot to positive social interaction that we're being deprived of right now, and that's the reason why we don't feel too well, no, socially.
I just hope those who are going to view this later on will take the cue from you. How about you, PPO? So what are the things that HR should focus on? I know you are in the thick of it, handling around 2,000, 3,000 people in SM merchandising. So what will be the focus?
In fact, we have around 8,500.
8,000.
8,500. I salute them because they are reporting to work every day, and most of them are commuting. That's why in most of my rallying points and pep talk, and you see my posting pep talk, diba? Purpose, empower, and productivity. Pep talk with Obet. I always remind everyone to take good care of our employees' well-being. Because how can you achieve profitability if first and foremost we will not take good care in the strict sense of the word, driven by our malasakit and bayanihan for our people. People is more important than profit because people, as we know, is the most important. Of course, the right people is the most important asset of any organization. So when we talk of well-being, ang parati kong sinasabi, first and foremost, take good care of the spirituality, wellness of each and every one. No? Because the spirituality foundation is the primary foundation of all aspects of wellness. And together with that, we now move to our mental wellness, emotional, physical, social, and of course, financial wellness. Kaya importante during this time, of course, we can be physically distanced, but we should always be socially connected using interconnection of internet, communication, so that there is constant collaboration. So these are forces: connection, communication, constancy, and collaboration.
Ay, nako. Napakagaling. But si Grace mayroon ditong post. Coaching and counseling is now a demand under a structured employee assistance program to maintain the health, wellness, and well-being of employees from social, mental, physical, and financial. Si Lloyd Luna, mayroong post dito. Congratulations! Powerhouse episode, Grace, may some of the best people managers in the Philippines. Lloyd, sa sunod, sumali ka rito. If you can join us now, papasukin natin nga si Lloyd sa conversation. And then Winston. Papasukin si Lloyd. At dito sa paano po gawin po ang former employer ko na mabagal mag-process ng back pay po? Ay, ano ba yan si Winston? Ay, ito yung agility na sinasabi. Yun nga po, Winston, may oras, everybody is claiming but they are agile. But we still are confined with the old ways na traditional. And then, hindi tayo nakakapag-work na yung payment are still Mabagal. Pero ang sabi ko lang, Winston, have some patience. Siguro darating naman yan. Pero actually, if the organization is listening, it's actually a paradox. It's the opposite. Dapat agile sana. Diba? The loans, the payback. Now, Gerry, can you say something on PPOBET on what Grace here mentioned about coaching and counseling? Because that can be part of what they should do now. Any thoughts on this, Gerry?
Oh yes, definitely. My own take on coaching, more particularly, is that I think the manager should assume more and take seriously their coaching responsibilities, because I think the manager of the future will do more of that than managing the tasks of other people. As people become more autonomous, more empowered, I think the managerial role will shift into more developing people, and coaching will definitely be part of that. And a lot of this coaching is not just one-on-one, but a lot of team coaching will have to happen, because a lot of work that will need to be done will have to be done on a team basis rather than on an individual basis.
Ako, Gerry, dalawang binigay mo. The other one is when you coach, it has to be thinking forward. Kasi may sinabi mo earlier of sabi mo, you don't actually coach what is now. You actually coach them what will be doing them later on. And nakuha ko yun, Gerry. Ako,
yes.
Ganun ako kabilis makakuha. Di ba, menti mo ako? At ang pangalawa is that team. Now, yun ang mahirap kasi the HR must now have programs to teach team coaching. Di ba? Yun.
Yes,
How about,
yes.
About you, PPO, but what are your thoughts on coaching and mentoring?
Of course, coaching, counseling, and let's include mentoring are very essential these days. Alam nyo kung dati, yung meron tayong F2F, yung face-to-face, hindi yung nagagawa yan, all the more that the leaders should always ensure na nakikita, nararamdaman nila ang pinagdadaanan ng bawat isa. Remember, being an HR practitioner, there is a common umbilical cord that binds us together. And that cord emanates from one word, heart. And there are two most important letters in the word heart, which are H and R, meaning human relationship. Kaya nga, all the more that managers and especially the leaders, more than planning, organizing, controlling, we really have to be consistent, being a very inspiring, motivating, agile, strengthening, resilient leader during these times. So yung paggamit po ng coaching, counseling, and mentoring, it depends on the level of needs of our teammates. And probably it might include you and me. It doesn't mean if you're a manager and leader, you don't need to be mentored, to be coached, or even to be counseled. So ano yan all the more na kailangan natin yan. Kaya kamukha itong ginagawa ni PP Jesse, itong HR hotline. Parati tayong makikinig dito. Malaking bagay ito. Yun lang share ko, partner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Can I just jump in and say something more about coaching, because this is so critical a subject. I think if you take a look at the pure coaching model, is non-directive, meaning to say the coach is not allowed to give advice or tell the coachee what to do. So the coach really has to rely on just asking questions. The reason why I'm pointing this out, I think the manager of today and tomorrow will be managers who may not have all the answers, because nobody has all the answers to many of our issues today. It's so complicated. But I think the skill that the manager should have should be framing the right questions. It is not a weakness to ask a question. As a matter of fact, it is through the questions of the managers that you're able to mobilize energies right now, so that people can co-create the future that they want to go into. So I think asking questions rather than telling answers might be more critical as a skill of managers moving into the future.
Wow! Sa lahat na nakikinig, take note of that. Kaya nga sabi nga rito ni Mark, leaders should be more of a listener nowadays. This is a part of parcel of coaching and mentoring. At ang sabi ni Grace, escalate your issues. Dito yan sa sinabi ni PP Obet. Escalate your issues with your HR or with your operational leaders. Yeah, what I got from Obet earlier is that we must know that particular situation where it is in a need. I still believe that the mentee should seek the mentor. Pero napakagaling yung sinabi ni PP Gerry. That one of coaching wherein talagang it's not ayong hand-holding them, telling them instructions, di ba? Oh, pardon the street lingo. Yung inuutusan ng inuutusan ay uto-uto. That's a street lingo. Just to make a joke about. Pero yung as a coach, you don't actually utos ng utos, but you ask question so that the person, di ba? It is actually the start, Gerry, of empowering.
Yes. Yeah, if I may, there's a term for that. Ang tawag doon, humble inquiry. The core skill of a leader should be a humble inquirer. You know, because I think the danger of leaders, if they stick to the telling style, even if they don't know the answer they tell, that is dangerous for the organization.
Right.
So I think they need to shift, and we need to have some training and look at it not as a weakness, but as a source of strength to ask the right questions, you know, to have humble inquiries. Because as the situation becomes more VUCA, as we say, we don't have all the answers. Leaders don't have all the answers. They must admit that, and that's why they need others to be onboarded, and they ask the right questions so that they can together develop the answers.
You may not even know it, Gerry. The person that you're asking, where you think he is not capable or is not competent, has the right answer. And it is open space technology. It's open space technology.
Yes,
Right.
PPJC at PP Gerry, I agree, no, that one of the most powerful technique is to use the questioning technique. You ask the right question at the right time in the right place. That's why as a coach, we really have to be a constant observer on what's happening around. So in a basketball game, let me illustrate this to you. If you have 5 players on the court, you don't only look at the 5 players on the court, because you also look at the players who are at the back of you as you watch the game and deploy different plays, no, in order to make the sure win. But prior to the actual game, it's important that the coach is able to establish the ownership of each and every one. It's not a spoon-feeding approach, but ownership came from the answers of each and every player in response to the questions given by the coach prior to the game and during the game and even after the game. It's important there is also debriefing after the game.
Right. Anyway, we have a prompt, nag-prompt si Direct Monica na break na po. When we come back, we discuss now what they were going to do now to prepare for the future. Okay? So Direct Monica, sorry, we are so engaged with Gerry and PP Obet. Let's have the break. Can we have the poster wherein we are supposed to invite our guests, our viewers to TNC shows? We're inviting you to watch all our shows live on replay, such as the U-Turn, TNC, The Talk, Awesome Day, The Home Buyer, The Puppet Stories, that will be on Mondays, The Big Picture, The Millennial Voice, The Foreign Affairs. Direct, and we have the poster, please. HR Outline, of course, that is my show. The Moving on Business, Well Home, The Mental Shift, and then, of course, Money and More. I'm waiting for the poster direct. Yes, can we have the poster? Just yes. So that is what I mentioned earlier. Okay. Anyway, we'll have that again next time. Can we have also the poster of the PMAP job fair? I am inviting everybody. This will be shared. We have a job fair come June, and I'm inviting everybody to register now. This one I did. That was yesterday. This one is with the job fair with Inquirer. The job fair of PMAP Direct, and we have that one. This one. So sulong pagbangon tugong tagumpay. This is a virtual job fair, so try to contact PMAP, and if you are an organization that requires people to join you, you are an employer of choice, join the PMAP virtual job fair come June 25. Okay, I'm doing this. Thank you, Direct, and we go back now to PP Obet and PP Gerry. Okay? Okay, so as mentioned, let's now discuss what should they prepare now. Who would come first? What should they prepare now for whatever that will come in the future? Ano dapat i-prepare ngayon?
Okay, can I start it, Jesse?
Sure.
I think moving into the future, the HR should not just be content with talent management. Because talent management is basically saying, getting the right people at the right places at the right time. I think we'll have to move beyond that to be able to really be a value contributor to the business. And I'd like to add two items here. I think aside from talent, the HR should be concerned about shaping the culture or being a culture steward. I think culture is so critical, these days, because if you bring talent together, it's culture that makes the talents work together. Unless you have a good culture, you cannot make the talents work together. And if you cannot make them work together, then you sacrifice the execution capability of the organization. So culture is very critical. The other side of that is leaders, because it's the leaders who blend the talent with the culture. So the critical role of leaders and how we're developing them will become very critical. So I think HRs of the future will need to have to contend with these three areas of talent management, of culture shaping, and leadership development.
Right. So at this time of the pandemic, in this challenging time, what HR should be focusing in for the now it's wellness, but for the future is actually going beyond talent management and looking at the competencies. Let me add that the competencies of what they will have. And then the other one, Gerry, what is the other one?
Leadership.
Leadership.
Culture and leadership. Because overall, Jesse, what I'm saying is that you need to build a strong organization who can weather any storm in the future. Because this pandemic will not be the last pandemic we will ever experience, or crisis or disruption. Let's face it. We are in a VUCA environment. So I think it is incumbent upon us, and this is where the HR comes in, is to build a strong organization that can withstand any of those disruptions.
You know what I am reading from our chats in the COPA? It's not even anymore about the virus. It's about the economy that will come, the changing economy, the changing geopolitics that will come. And then I think if you bring that into organization, leaders must be ready with that. Am I right, Gerry?
That's why talking about the talent and the culture side is it's not enough to bring superstars into the organization. It's not enough to bring extraordinary individuals, but I think the focus should be more on the extraordinary combination of individuals who can do the tough job in a complex environment.
Ay, mahirap gawin yan ng HR ngayon. They should really be guided on what programs that they should really have. How about you, PP Obet? What are your thoughts on what should HR prepare for the uncertainty of the future?
Well, of course, I agree with PP Gerry that culture fit, competency, leadership, and so forth and so on are all essentials. That's why it's important for the HR practitioners today is to be able to concoct the right chemistry appropriate to the current culture of the organization in relation to the trust that is continuously evolving so that it will be able to sustain its competitiveness at the same time to take good care again of its people and to create a value-adding service not only to its stakeholders, to its customers, but also to the community as well, especially adopting the bayanihan spirit.
Okay.
Share
It's what I get for you. And then I'll put you on the spot. You mentioned about competitive. So what will be the competitive advantage, PP Obet, na naiisip mo? What will be the future competitive advantage of organizations? Can you share with us what are your thoughts on this? One is competitive advantage, and you mentioned about yan muna. Yeah.
Mabigat ang tanong mo na yan, ha?
So ano kaya ang competitive advantage na pwedeng pag i-prepare na ngayon so that when it happens, meron kang competitive advantage. Nasabi mo yan kanina.
Can I have a shot at that, Jesse?
Yeah. Sige. Gerry muna.
I want to go back to the culture side of things.
Yes.
I think if you want to be competitive or distinctive, I think you need to create a really unique identity through your culture. And one of those emerging things that's happening on the culture side is the value of purpose-driven organizations. Purpose, not numbers. Purpose is what the one going to drive. Some organizations we've seen. What is interesting about purpose is this. It is the purpose-driven organizations that are beginning to come up to be more profitable than just the profit-oriented organizations. That's a very interesting research study. It means to say, if you want to be profitable, you don't put your eyes on profits. That's not where the eye should be. Because the real way forward is what are you in business for? And you should never lose sight of that purpose, because the stories of organizations that have lost their way are organizations that have lost their purpose. They've become too materialistic, too commercial, too greedy. They lost their way. So the only way to come back is to bring back the purpose, come alive again. So I think competitiveness, future sustainability, that is the way to go.
Purpose. Kaya ba yung Grab, nakita ko, dumaan na Grab, dumaan na Palalamog. What is the purpose? Delivery. What is the purpose of Lazada? Quickness. So, purpose. Pero kung tama ka, PP Gerry, kung pumasok na dyan yung additional revenue, ay mawawala yung purpose. So, now,
Jesse, Jesse, if I may, because the power of purpose is so energizing. You need a lot of energy to continue the tough journey. The numbers in itself, only very few get energized, really. Let's face it. It's the purpose, it's the noble purpose that will carry you through the journey.
Yeah, I hope si Lloyd nakikinig. So, kahit sa mga asosasyon, it's not the numbers that matter. It's actually the people joining for the particular purpose. Now, may second question ako sa sinabi mo. Sige.
So, tama yung sinabi ni PP Jerry. That's why I made it a while ago as a prerequisite for competitiveness. What is the value-adding service
Yan ang,
and
yun ang
benefit
tanong ko sa iyo. Yun ang
of
tanong ko
the
sa iyo.
organization? And who will make that value-adding service and benefit of the organization? It's not the business itself, but primarily it's the people. People-driven yan. Kaya nga I agree with partner Gerry that any business, regardless whether you're big or small, hindi dapat unang titingnan yung profitability. Ang titingnan natin dyan yung people ability. Hindi yung profitability but the people ability in terms of spirituality, emotional, physical, social, no, and so forth and so on. And who will give these things to them? Again, it's HR department. O yan.
Yeah, alam mo, Pipio, but align ang utak natin. Actually, that is my question to you. What is that value adding? So it's the service and it's the people. Yun ang sagot. Diba? What is the...
Kaya
Kasi,
sabi ko importante, we have to take good care of the stakeholders. And we
Oh.
go beyond that. Yung community where the company operates, because the company is not only focused on the four corners of the business itself, but it goes beyond. Kinakailangan yung malasakit nandoon.
very good. Okay, I have two more questions. Okay, Gerry, you want to say something? Sige, sige. You were...
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to add to that the fact that I think in this complex environment, one of the leader roles that's emerging, and Dave Ulrich is beginning to talk more and more about this, is the role called paradox navigator.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard that, Jesse, di ba?
Tinuturo ko yan.
Paradox navigator. Now, if you want to understand that concept, kasi we live in a world now that is not either or. It's not black and white anymore. You need to balance conflicting tensions and conflicting views. Like if I want to be profitable, I have to go for purpose. No, parang there's a paradox there. And yet that's like if you want to be powerful, give power. So we're living in a lot of these paradoxes. The conflict between individuals and teams. The conflict between international and local, I think the agile leader, if you want to talk, describe the leader like that, needs to be able to navigate these paradoxes in a complex environment, manage these tensions. It's not going to be an either or proposition anymore. And that's a critical skill of leaders.
Tinuturo ko yan, Gerry, sa sinasabi mo. And I don't know if what I'm teaching is correct. Give your thoughts on this. Ang tinuturo ko is you cannot really balance it but integrate it. You really have to have a discerning, yung proactivity mo talaga dapat malalim, and then you try to integrate the paradox into your decision. And it is actually proactivity, your choice.
That's right. Let's take a look at the pandemic now. Let's take a look at the pandemic now. The pandemic now is giving our leaders a test of attention. And what's that tension? Shall we go for health or economics?
Right.
So is it going to be an either or? It cannot be an either or. It has to be an end.
Yes,
so what is that end solution rather than an either or?
I love you, Gerry. Tinuturo ko. Yeah. So, see, align talaga tayong tatlo. We go to the second kasi sayang ng oras. The second one, Gerry, what are the emerging paradigms and what do you think will be the culture that will come? What are the possibilities? Isayin na lang natin kasi we only have around 15 minutes to go. So what are the emerging paradigms na naiisip ninyo and what are the culture that you think that will come, or is it already being experienced, and what are the possibilities? Okay, who will come first? Who would like to answer first?
You want to do
Gerry?
it, Obed?
Yeah, Gerry.
Jerry.
I'll do it first. I see what is emerging with what I'm seeing is a change in the way we do work. Okay, I think there will be the hierarchy. Our hierarchical setup right now, as we know it, is not cut out for fast change. So I think we need to invent a new organization side by side with it without necessarily abandoning the hierarchy, but call it a network organization, call it a flexible organization. This is where probably a lot of the innovation needs to happen. The test and try, the experimentation. This is the explore organization. I think we need to do that. And if we succeed in doing that, I think HR will need to play a different role in training, in developing people to be able to make that part of the organization function. I call that the ambidextrous organization.
Right.
One
Yes.
that stays maintains the hierarchy. Okay, this is like your home address, but from time to time you work in various teams depending on the situations that you address, because you want to seize an opportunity or to solve a big complex wicked problem. So that's the flexibility factor. That is what I see, and HR needs to prepare for that kind of a role.
Right. And in particular, Gerry, I'm also mentioned that in my webinars. One is we have to be ready with the gig economy, the freelance. Actually, that one of having outsourcing is it will be the game of the next generation will really be more keen on outsourcing. And then also what you're telling us is that that one of having matrices. That is not anymore hierarchical. Having or structures wherein side by side, you still have your hierarchy because you still have the boss, but you already moving toward into something which is agile, which is actually the question of a guy earlier that his payback is for 1 year. Hindi pa nabibigay. Maybe they're still in the traditional structure, kaya mayroon pang red tape and pero at this time that we are supposed to be agile, dapat meron ng organization to look into this. How about you, PP Obet? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, nowadays, all the more that we have to don't be negative but stay positive. Yan nakalagay sa t-shirt natin. No? Like zebra, very timely. Coincidence na suot ko tong t-shirt na to. But I always wear statement shirt of positivity, agility, resilience, and faithfulness. So one of the principles kinakailangan, we always hold on to this. So ano yung paradigm dyan na sinasabi mo to the future? Well, based on our discussion, we have to be not afraid to explore, no? And
Right.
go out of our comfort zone. It's not simply thinking out of the box. Hindi ako naniniwala dyan. Ang paniniwala ko, we go out of the box, think and act in accordance to our purpose. Like the word mentioned by PP Gerry, purpose-driven, so that you'll be able really to define and roll out the value-adding services and benefits, not only to our customers, to the stakeholders, but also to our loved ones and to the communities. So other than exploring, we need to expand. No? Ngayon nasa digital stage na ho tayo. So gone are the days na we still hold on to the old ways of doing things. Kaya dati walang naniniwala sa work from home. Pero ngayon, napilitan ng Pilipinas na work from home. And this is it. This is no longer the future. So the next question is, how we'll be able to expand beyond the horizon of things. Kaya again, people is the key.
Okay. You know what? Well, listening to you, PP Obet, I was kasi kakasabi ko lang kanina sa webinar, it's about the flexibility principle. At ang number one is the enterprise never stops. Even with this pandemic, the enterprise will continue. This is business continuity. And then yung explanation ko nga, I gathered it from you. Now, since it is flexible, you are just adapt. You are just passing. You are just one of those. Just like San Miguel. San Miguel has been there and it will be for the longest time, it will still be there. You are just part of that, di ba? Pero, ang tingin nga doon, how are you going to catch up and expand Kasi the enterprise continues, and the enterprise, just like, you know that I came from Inquirer. Diba? It is one of the sunset industries. But Inquirer is really struggling to be now online, to be now using the new technology. So the purpose of the enterprise never stops. But you are there. So tama yung sinasabi mo, you have to expand. You really have to expand and catch up in what you do. So we go
And
before your
PP Jerry, PP Jesse, if I may add, no, other than being able to address the evolving needs and requirements of the business, of the community, of the country, and of the globalization, there are two important words that I'd like to emphasize here. Other than evolving, it's really the constancy of transformational and transcendental. The word transformational and transcendental. So that we don't only attune to the times, but even foresee what will happen, no, in the future. At wag matakot, wag sumuko. Yan. And this applies in all areas of our life, be it in the business, be it in the religion, be it in the academe, being it in the professional organization. And first and foremost, we start it within ourselves. We have to continuously evolve and ensure that there is transformation and transcendental.
Yes. I like that kasi malapit-lapit yan sa theme ng annual conference ng PMAP. Yung pag-angat, it's not only transformed to angat, but there should be that mindset of transcendental. Yung pag-lift ng isang tao, yung pag-soar, kung wala yung transcendental quality, ay wala lang, para bang ikaw balloon, na hindi ka talaga aangat, walang helium. So transcendental. I love you, PP Obet. Now, before we go to your parting message, ano mga possibility na nakikita nyo? We start with Gerry. Kasi si Gerry, malalim yan mag-isip. Ano mga possibility na mangyayari, Gerry?
Possibility? I think for HR, you're talking about the possibilities for HR. I think it's very unlimited. One possibility I see is this: HR can easily become the CEO.
Wow!
There's only one thing lacking. You know, I'll relate a little story that gave me that realization. I was in a Hong Kong conference many years back, and there was a panel discussion among CEOs of a banking sector in Hong Kong, and they were all extolling the virtues of the value of people. And then when the Q&A happened, I stood up and asked a very simple question. I asked all of the panel, if it's true that you really value people that well, was there ever a time in your organizations that a CEO came from the HR ranks? And all of a sudden, one of the panelists immediately responded by saying that can never happen because the HR does not know the business. That was the response. I will never forget that. So now we know the secret sauce. So we can work on just building our business acumen. And then we can be, a real good candidate. As a matter of fact, I was just listening to Dave Ulrich podcast in one time when he says that they had a study. They looked at the profiles of all the one downs of the CEO, and they found out in the study that the best profile that can succeed the CEO was the HR profile.
Wow. Very inspiring.
So
and that
that's
is
the possibility.
That is the possibility. Because actually now, following the Baldridge, people, operations, marketing, and finance, right now during the pandemic, it's people. So we are really being, they seek us, they consult us. So if really HR will really go and be keen on the business, well, right, Gerry, then we are really, the possibility is we can really head organizations. How about your PP Obet? What are the possibilities? And after this, we do our parting message kasi ano na tayo, overtime na. What are the possibilities that you can see?
Well, I agree with PP Gerry. The possibilities are limitless. All right. So all the more that the HR practitioner is given the opportunities. Opportunities. In fact, any organization will have a hard time to really connect, communicate, and collaborate without the help, assistance, involvement, engagement of the HR department. So I agree that this is the opportune time for any HR practitioners, especially those occupying an influential position during this pandemic period, that they're able to serve as the real conscience of top management. Because the bottom line here is not simply profit, but how we be able to sustain the well-being, the capability, the competitiveness of the people, so that the business is able to thrive and continuously survive during this pandemic. And who is the key here? It's not the business itself, it's not the product. Again, bottom line, it's people. And takes good care of people? It's the HR department, it's you and me. So we really have to continuously collaborate together using this format, this HR hotline, being involved in PMAP, the People Management Association of the Philippines activities, and other available online programs, so that we'll be able to continuously sustain our bayanihan, especially as a Filipino. We move everyone, bagong Pilipino, sugod Pilipino. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I say thank you, of course, I'm going to text you. PP, Gerry, can you start your parting message for this episode? Of course, I will still invite you later on. This is season 6, season 7, nandun ulit kayong dalawa. Then we had one more. I was looking for Grace Zata and then Ophel. Hindi nagsumali eh. Si Femery din eh. Dapat 4 tayo. Anyway, next time, dapat 4 tayo. Now, what is your parting message, PP Gerry, of what we just discussed?
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to expound a little bit on the business acumen side, because I think there's nothing complicated about that. If we're participating in strategic planning sessions, I think that's a great way to know the business. But I think beyond that, I think as HR, we need to have more conversations with line and business people. I think that's the way to get to know the business and the business model. If we have that within as a context of how we do HR work, I think we have the right ingredient for really being a true business partner of the organization. And I'd like to refer back to those 3 things that I mentioned earlier. Be concerned with the right talent, develop the right culture, and then continuously develop your leaders so that your culture can be nurtured.
Right. Very nice. Spot on. How about you, PP Obet? What is your parting message?
Well, for me, it's important that both parties, management and the employees, is able to sustain its trust, its confidence, and its caring attitude for one another. Because it's essential that we have to continuously build a high-trust culture wherein we start by cultivating, developing, and sustaining positive beliefs about our people. Because right assumptions drive right behavior. In other words, leadership influences culture, and culture shapes people. Again, leadership influences culture, and culture shapes people. So we have to assume that our employees are really working so hard, driven by their malasakit, their professionalism, and so forth and so on, because they care about the operations of the company and its success. And coupled with that, it's essential that we have to continuously take good care of the integrity of each and everyone, so that we get the culture right across our organizations in all levels at any time, no? Particularly during this time of crisis. At malalagpasan ho natin to kung sama-sama na may pagmamahal sa bawat isa. Dahil meron tayong puso, at puso ay ibig sabihin heart. H and R, human relationship, meaning thinking more of others and less of me. Thank you very much, PP Gerry at PP Jessie at sa lahat ng nakikinig. Stay safe and stay healthy. God bless.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gerry, PP Gerry, and PP Obet. There goes, ladies and gentlemen. These are my close friends, my mentors, and then, wow, seasoned and actually, what do you call this, source of inspiration for the HR community. So, what can I conclude? One is savor the moment. We are in a pandemic, as mentioned by PP Gerry and PP Obet. Savor the moment. That is what is making the discern and then realize what is happening and then enjoy what is happening to you and then be more reflective. And then after that, make sure that you are doing something for the organization. And one of which is focus on the leadership, focus on the organization, the culture. And then you can have, we mentioned a lot about some interventions about mentoring, coaching in particular, and counseling. And then what are the possibilities? The possibilities that, before we that, what are the emerging paradigms? The emerging paradigms is that we have to look into all the, try to always, yung sinasabing innovation, yung sabing, what are the things that are coming in, the gig economy, the structure that PP Gerry was mentioning to us. So it's actually breaking all the silos, breaking all the tradition, tear up all the traditions that you have, and look into something that is being, siguro you have to be creative, you have to be innovative, and then make sure that you are, what you are doing, you are preparing your people to be catching with what is happening. Everything is uncertain, but we have to be ready for it. But what I love are the possibilities. And what is given to us is that if we have, if we are ready, or no. If we are engaged and we really are parang put into our system yung business continuity, knowing what is the business all about, the purpose and everything, then we are actually preparing ourselves to become the leader of the organization, as what was given to us. So inspiring, sabi ni PP Gerry. You can be a CEO later on because na you have that people management experience. So from savoring the moment and trying to discern your authenticity to the possibility of your growth in the company as an HR, make this pandemic as a reason for you to grow. Thank you very much, PP Gerry. Thank you very much, PP Obet. It was a wonderful episode. Promise that we'll be back again, the three of us, to discuss more topic that we can share to our HR community. Thank you po. Diyos Babalos, ito po si Jeff Francis Rebustillo. Direct, nag-overtime kami.